Hello, my name is Keith Bailey. I'm here to do power rankings 24 through 17. I'm going to do this kind of quickly because my computer is having issues. First, to recap. 32 is the Jaguars, 31 is the Raiders, 30 is the Redskins, 29 is the Texans, 28 is the Browns, 27 is the Titans, 26 is the Bills, and 25 is the Miami Dolphins. So, without further ado, let me get through this kind of quickly to avoid any problems my computer may have. 24, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went 4-12 a year ago. But they picked up Josh McCown in free agency and Alteron Werner in free agency. And I think they're kind of like 2011's version of this Kansas City Chiefs. All the talent in the world, but just unable to capitalize. That's what I think when I think of the 2012 Buccaneers. I compared them to the 2011 Kansas City Chiefs. And look at how the Chiefs did this past year. They went 11-5 and were able to clinch a playoff berth. I think Tampa Bay may be on track for that. Who knows? But they're 24th, and I think they were going to be higher by the time the season's over. 23, I have the Falcons. They're going to be back. They were injury plagued all of last year, for God's sake. Matt Ryan can only do so much back there. And when you have all the success that he's had in the seasons that he's had in Atlanta, I think the Falcons have had the first or second best, before last year, of course, the first or second best record in the NFL over a 5-year span. So I think the Falcons are going to be back, and I think that entire division is up for grabs. 22, I have the Vikings. I have the Vikings high for a reason. I have them high because they lost a lot of close games last year. They lost to the Lions in a close game. They lost to the Bears twice in a close game. They lost to the Cowboys. They had the Giants. They beat the Giants, actually, I think. I mean, Minnesota Vikings they just couldn't capitalize. And I think Adrian Peterson is drooling over the fact that he has Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball to him now. And Teddy Bridgewater is a scrambling quarterback. And that makes him drool even more because of that. They could do, although it's outdated, they could bring the Wildcat back. It's very outdated, I know. Teams have picked up on it. But when you get a dynamic duo like this, I mean, what can't you do? 21, I have the Giants. I like the Giants. Eli Manning is approaching the end of his career a little more. However, when you start 0-6 and then you finish 7-3 in your last 10 games, you end up with a 7-9 record. And what's that? A losing record. Guess what's not tolerated in New York, especially if you're a New York Giant? A losing record. This is the first losing record they've had in a while. And Tom Coughlin, he is safe for now. But this team needs to get its head out of its ass if it wants to do better in 2014. You can't start 0-6 and expect to make the playoffs. They tried so hard to come back, and they just weren't able to do so. They can't pull the Tennessee Titans quite like that. Number 20, I have the New York Jets. I have both New York teams back-to-back. The Jets were Jekyll and Hyde last year. They had signature wins over teams like the Patriots and the Saints and the Falcons back when we thought Atlanta was going to be a pretty good football team. But that was early in the season before we found out Atlanta was a train wreck. And then you get the Jets losses to teams like the Titans, the Bills, the Bengals. They were blown out in those games. They had the doors ripped off. I mean, this team was a classic case of Jekyll and Hyde last year, and there was nothing they could do about it. So we thought. But they went 8-8, which is fittingly average, and a lot better than we thought they were going to do this past season. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know how they're going to be this season. It depends on which Jets team shows up. Number 19, the Dallas Cowboys. They lost DeMarcus Ware. That is going to hurt. They already didn't have a defense to begin with, even when he was on that team this past year. Tony Romo can only do so much as the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. This team was in a lot of games last year. They've had 3 straight 8-8 seasons, and they've had 3 straight chances in Week 17 to make the playoffs, and they have 3 losses, all to division rivals. One of the Giants, one of the Redskins, one of the Eagles. They lost to every single team in the division for the division title. I mean, it doesn't get crazier than that if you're a Cowboy fan. Can you imagine all the agony that these poor Cowboys fans must be feeling over the division rivals? I mean, come on. But Tony Romo and the Cowboys, stop hating on Tony Romo. He basically won 8 games for you guys this past year. Your defense was a non-factor. I mean, look at it against the Broncos. He put up 48 points. Yes, he threw a pick in the end, but when you score 48 points, you're supposed to win the game. Your defense gave up 51 points. Tony Romo did everything he could to withstand this kind of shootout. And yes, he screwed up at the end, but he still put up 48 points. All he's asking his defense to do is to allow less than 48 points. I mean, come on, Dallas defense. 18. Okay, rant over. 18. Detroit Lions. Talk about dissolving at the end of the year. This team was 7-5. They had just finished whooping the Packers on Thanksgiving. And they are sitting pretty in that division with Aaron Rodgers injured, Jay Cutler's injured, the Vikings already stink. I mean, come on. The Lions had a golden road path to the playoffs, and they lost 4 straight games. They were out of it by the time Week 17 came around, when they were 7-8 after their loss to the Giants in overtime. I mean, the Detroit Lions just totally botched last season, and Green Bay came back and they won with an 8-7-1 record. And the Lions finished 3rd in the division after having a solid stranglehold on the division, with easy games coming up to end the season. I mean, they played the Giants, they played the Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't really too good at the time. I think they were 5-7 or something. But if they just and the Vikings, they had a game against the Vikings too that they should have won. They turned the ball over too much. That was their problem. They're an undisciplined football team when it comes to ball control. And that bit them in the ass last year. They are able to put up all the points in the world, but when you turn the ball over, it gives teams extra chances. And when you give teams too many extra chances, it's going to kill you in the end. And the last team in this countdown, number 17, the St. Louis Rams. This team, the unfortunate pleasure of playing in the NFC West, with teams like the Cardinals, 49ers, and Seahawks, which, spoiler alert, all 3 of those teams are in the top 10. Does that surprise you? But the St. Louis Rams went 7-9 a year ago, and they were tough. They beat teams like the Saints. They beat teams like the Colts. They didn't even beat the Colts. They pounded the Colts. And they had the Seahawks. They had the Titans, I'll admit that. I mean, what else can you say about this team? They're right there. They just play in a very a very good division. If this team was in any other division in the NFL, they would have a 9-7 or a 10-6 record easily. That's my take on that. And I truly believe that. But Sam Bradford gets to come back. Oh yeah, by the way, they did all of this. They went 7-9 last season, basically without Sam Bradford on their team. When he's back, can you imagine what this team's going to do? Especially with Tavon Austin emerging as a playmaker on your team. I mean, that's all I got to say about it. So, there's your countdown from 32 to 17. I'll do the top half. 16 through 9, another day. Thank you for watching, as always. And I hope you all had a safe July 4th. Please stop by. Thank you for subscribing, and I will see you next time, ladies and gentlemen.